Hi guys, it's Fossil Dad, and joining me today is Dr. Chris Collom. Chris has been with us today at the Ammolite Factory Mine. We took him for the full tour, all those test holes that I've been telling you guys about. We had Dr. Chris walk around with us with a whole bunch of other experts, which of course we're going to talk to. Doctor, how was your experience today?
I'm just blown away by how much material you guys have actually been moving around.
Wow.
There's these really deep test pits, vertical sides. The equipment out here is just amazing how quickly they can produce these holes.
Right.
And
yep.
We're getting to see some fresh Bearpaw shale. It's never seen erosion or anything. It's absolutely perfect, and there's lots of concretions.
What can you tell the viewers in layman's terms about the Bearpaw Formation and its significance to Alberta?
Okay, the Bearpaw is Cretaceous in age, and it is about probably, I'm saying safely to say, it's right here, the sediments are about 75 million years old. Mm-hmm. And there is a seaway that invaded the sort of central part of North America, both from the south and from the north.
Is that the Western Interior
That's
Seaway?
The Western Interior
Okay,
Seaway.
yeah.
And
so what is the significance of the Western Interior Seaway?
it is what is responsible for the deposition of the Bearpaw Formation.
So deposition, you mean the depositing the spread of how big that formation is, or what do you mean by that?
Well, that actually controls it to a little bit. A lot of sediments were being shed from the west to the east off of the rising Rocky Mountains, almost throughout the entirety of the Cretaceous. And the Cretaceous is from about 140 million years ago to 65 million years ago. You remember where the meteorite struck Yucatan and the dinosaurs went extinct. Yeah. Those sediments are not present here, but they would be above our heads up in the sky, right? Because those are younger than the rocks that we're on right now. Yeah. So there was a seaway that sort of crept in from the south and down from the north, and they connected up somewhere over the U.S.-Canadian border, and then was present, to various extents. The sea level went up and down for about 40 million years. It was stayed within this, the central portion of the continent there for a really long time. So needless to say, vast thicknesses of sediments, accumulated, and in those sediments you find, of course, lots of fossils, marine fossils. Right. And if you get lucky, sometimes there's also some vertebrate fossils. So within Bearpaw age sediments, elsewhere they have found, mosasaurs and various other things that were swimming around in the sea, fish, etc. And in my old stomping grounds in the United States, you've got 3D preserved specimens coming out of the Niobrara Chalk in Kansas. Wow! So it all depends on where you are. Depends, how far north you go. We have up here a predominance of shale, and that shale is really good in preserving things, particularly if you get concretions growing in them. And the Bearpaw is famous for its, concretions, and I guess that's part of the reason why you guys are here.
Well. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that we found, as you've all pointed out, we found that deep, dark Bearpaw shale, the really dense stuff. Obviously, that's the indicator of where we want to be. We've been exploring that for a while, and obviously today, great timing. While all of these doctors were here, we actually found deep. Another question I have for you. So with ammonites, are they specific to Alberta only, or were they around the world? Or tell me about the species of ammonite itself.
Okay, ammonites evolved in the period before the Cretaceous, the Jurassic, and they had ancestors even before them, but they go by different names, right? There's ceratites in the Triassic, and by the time you get to the Paleozoic, it's the goniatites. But and they're all coiled, so they all look very similar.
So they're all spiral. But
they're all spiral. They look like a nautilus, and nautilus is still around today. It's sort of like a distant, weird cousin of the ammonites. But the ammonites have been around probably, by the time we get to the Bearpaw, they've been around for about 85, 90, maybe 100 million years. So they've been around a long time, many, many, many different lineages.
Why were they so successful?
Number one, because they evolved very quickly. Ammonites are the premier sort of index fossil for dividing geological time. And so you can see changes in different species very quickly, and it allows you to say, hey, I'm in this age rocks just from the fossils that you find in them, right? So the Placenticeros in the Bearpaw is very indicative of Campanian age, But the Bearpaw, you know, the entire deposition of the Bearpaw spans about 2.5 million years. So there might have been multiple ammonites that evolved during that time.
Yep.
And those would have been the more rapidly evolving smaller Baculites and Scaphites. Placentisrus, on the other hand, seems to be this lumbering giant that, you know, had hit an evolutionary dead end and did not change much at all. So in southern Alberta, you can go, you know, along the Old Man River and find Placentisrus in the lower Bearpaw Formation that look almost identical to the ones that you guys are excavating here, and yet these rocks are about 2.5 million years younger. So why didn't they evolve and change? Good question. Right. If they did, they evolved in such little, tiny, minor ways that my eye, which is pretty well trained, cannot see the difference.
Is it true that there's mostly spirals when it comes to ammonite, but are there ammonites or a species of ammonite that are bat-shaped, more like a long, what are they called, and what are the significance, and how do they relate to the Placentisrus?
You've got 3 pens on your shirt there. That's actually the shape of one of these guys called Baculites. The shell was almost like you say a bat, but there was chamber still in it, right? So you would have the nautilus part of it here. You know, I call it nautilus part because, you know,
that's the squid.
You've got the squid-like part, you know, with the various what are we calling those? Appendages? And tentacles, thank you. Sure, and then there's a living chamber that goes back to a certain part, and then you have the septate phragmocone, just like you have in Placentisrus, except on this Placentisrus it is coiled. Here it's straight shot.
Well, how come
so that's Baculites.
But how come I don't see that at the mine? And I know, and we're going to talk to Allison later, that she did see a baculite today. Is that correct?
We did see some over on Hill 3.
How come I'm not seeing them on
right here?
Yeah,
that's a good question. You know, these things lived where they lived for whatever reasons. You know, maybe 2 kilometers further that way there was more of an abundance of the sort of food that they liked. So they would hang out over there instead of here. Just like I'm sure if you went into an estuary today, you would find, you know, certain things living in one part of the estuary versus the other, and that is controlled by, you know, water temperature, currents, availability of food, you know. And so, you know, there's a lot of Bearpaw here. You're not going to expect to see the exact same thing everywhere up and down this valley.
So looking at the mine today, what is something that you can tell me that would help me using the data that I've shown you in the test holes? Using this, we already know that we're in the right area, but is there anything that you've seen today that's going to help me next season be a better miner?
Well, it seems to be we have to go down.
Deep.
We have to go deep. Yeah. So if we have to revisit that zone and then just tear laterally and remove this whole hill, then so be it. And I wouldn't, you know, necessarily do that just by shaving our way down, because we can see in the sidewall of your pit there's nothing happening for many years. So best to come in from the side and just work your way across. So, you know, that is something you guys will be able to talk about, you know, as you prepare for next year. We know the stuff is here, and you guys will have to determine to what extent it's gem quality and you know can pay the bills. Of course. Considering how few places are left in Alberta, I was about to say the world, but of course the only place that you can find Ammolite is in Alberta. This is one of 2 places, so you know, it's vitally important to you know, develop the places that we know it exists, because it's not like there's a million options. There really are not. So this is an important location.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today at the mine, Dr. Collom. You're going to see more Dr. Collom in the future. We definitely want to involve him within the mine. And actually in the post-production, you're going to see a lot more of him as well, guys. So stay tuned. Thanks very much.